I could almost prove that the academic education system is as inefficient as possible and takes as long as possible to get you to learn and be an expert at a skill, and is basically worthless. Like K through 12, worthless. Your first 4 years in college, worthless. I mean, you might as well have just not gone to school, honestly, and you probably could have done all of that in literally half the time, but in probably like 6 to 8 years, right? And I can objectively prove this. So when you look at it, so there's, it depends on what you think the objective of school is. A lot of people are going to college to get a job so they're not poor, obviously. Well, how do you do that? You get good at something enough that produces enough value that other people want, and then they trade resources with you. That's what life is. That's all of life, okay? Well, if we're talking about skill mastery, school literally gets you there the longest route. It wastes all of your time. So when you're learning a skill, any skill, it doesn't matter. There's two types of information, two types of knowledge. There's crystallized knowledge or crystallized intelligence, and this is just kind of like the one-to-one facts. Like, let's pick math, for instance. What is a digit? This is 2, this is 3. You have to learn the digits 0 through 9, and then there's 10, 11, 12, and you put them together, right? That's just like what it is. And then there's the underlying principles of what those things are. What is math? It represents quantities of items, right? What is a digit? What is a multiplication? So you can memorize something. You can memorize 2 and 2 is 4. Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. You can memorize 2 times 2 is 4, right? 2 plus 2 is 4. But if you don't have a frame of reference that this represents digits, this represents addition, this represents multiplication and a numerical quantity getting bigger, then you're just memorizing stuff, right? Which is fine. Memorizing stuff's totally fine. But you won't be able to extrapolate and then use those equations for other things without understanding the principle of what math is. What is multiplication? What is addition? What is subtraction, right? So you have the crystallized intelligence, and then you have the underlying principles. So let's expand this to something more technical, right? Let's say you're working on a car. You're going to memorize what are spark plugs, what are oil changes, and you're going to learn how to change those things, right? But then you're also going to learn, why do those things need to be changed? When do they need to be changed? How do you diagnose? How does everything in the car interact with each other to know how to test each particular item, to know when to change it, how to change it, and diagnose actually what is the actual problem. You have to put those two things together. Now, that's what learning is. That's how you learn a skill. This is why school wastes your time. There's two things that are true. You cannot increase your intelligence. You can't increase the intelligence, and this is like raw IQ, like if you were to take an IQ test. You can't increase the intelligence of a population. You can't increase the intelligence of an individual. Here's the other thing. Skill transference essentially is zero. We'll take video games example. If I get good at a shooter, I will be essentially, and say I get good at a shooter, my friend gets good at playing fighting games. If we play a third type of game, like we play a racing game, neither of us will acquire enough skill to transfer and get better at the racing game, right? Or even if we play a third-party adventure game like God of War, I play a shooter, he plays a fighting game. We play the third-person adventure game. Neither of us will, even though we both practiced a ton of hours of video games, we might as well not practice because neither of us will have enough skill transference to be good at that third thing, right? So if you learn math, essentially it doesn't make you good at reading. It just doesn't. not to like a measurable amount. So if skill transference isn't real, and raising your IQ isn't real, learning any skills that isn't directly relevant to a skill you want to master to gain income is literally wasting your time. There's just no other way to put that, right? You should have a certain amount of skills. You shouldn't just have one skill. You shouldn't just be good at working on cars. You should have good reading and writing, good vocabulary. That's just a function in the world. But if you look at that, you should look backwards. You should maybe learn 2-3 dozen things that you might want to do. What seems interesting, what seems fun, what seems engaging. Pick those things. Pick 4 things that are very similar that you want to do. You want to go to the medical field. You want to go to automotive. You want to go be an electrician or something adjacent to that, or control boards. And then learn the skills specifically relevant to that skill. And again, what does K through 12 do? Teach you basically nonsense. You can learn very good reading and writing comprehension without reading Shakespeare. You just can. You know how? Because there's all kinds of doctors that come over from India, or people that come from India that don't go through the K-12 education system, don't learn Shakespeare. They have great reading and writing comprehension skills and become doctors, right? So if that was so important, so foundational, they would not be able to succeed, and they do. It's just, school just wastes your time. So if you're in the middle of your career and you're thinking about it, middle of your education, think about the end goal first, and then work backwards from there. What do I need to do to get to this goal specifically, and just basically ignore everything else.